No shortcut to heaven.
Forms are being rolled out as well. TVET expansion is still in progress. And then we'll talk about healthcare as well. Ghana Medical Care Trust Fund. NHIS reforms, universal health coverage and nationwide primary care. Then to governors and public sector reforms. That has also begun. Levels of efficiency, you talk to me about it. Youth and women empowerment programs underway. Where is the Women's Development Bank?
Convictions are severed head. The pictures were big. Cautionary tales. Scars still prevail. If you're scared of heights, don't get.
So after 1 year, the research agenda is showing key achievements in various sectors. Several initiatives are on the way, and some ambitious promises they remain in the works. They remain works in progress.
I double dare you to be more debonair. We on the elevator cruising out the climate.
1 year in, achievements, progress underway, promises still pending,
We couldn't capture. I know they can't ever see.
and Ghanaians are still watching.
What's up? Coming out, Tanya.
Who's joining me here? Exactly 1 year after John Dramani Mahama became President John Dramani Mahama. On what has been the president performance? Good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Crosby. I think 1 year on, we've seen signs of progress. We've seen promise of better years to come. We've seen indications that by the end of the 3 years, the administration would have been able to deliver on, if it continues on the tangent that it is going, it would have been able to deliver on at least 90 to 95% of its promises. We know that there may be reasons that it may not be able to deliver on 100% on all the promises made. But from what we are seeing, I think the target should be some 90 to 95% achievement by the time the full tenure is exhausted. Because, like you yourself recounted in your introduction, a lot of the things that we see or we are seeing now within the first 12 months of the administration,
Right.
shows a certain commitment, a certain tenacity, a certain drive to attaining all that the government set out to attain.
Right.
The first 100 days promises were clocked, correct? The overall, the ambition to run the country with 60 ministers clocked, right? I think they're having 58
At the moment.
58 at the moment.
Yes.
So meaning he still has room for two. I don't know why the people know the lobby.
Oh, he will. He said he will do that after the.
No, not the replacement. So
Well, is the replacement I'm talking about.
the replacement there, it did. So he was able to do put his cabinet in place within the period as promised. He was able to set up the government, and when they said 60, we're asking, how is this possible? Because we're in an era, at the time the 60 promise was made, we had 110 ministers and
We're used to something very different.
And then we had, in addition to the 110, we had special advisors and senior advisors and senior, all sorts of portfolios. So to be able to achieve that, and the country is running, I dare say, far better than it was running with the 110 ministers, then it's indicative of something. Maybe it's the leadership style.
Okay.
Maybe there's a certain grip that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has on his appointees that His Excellency John Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo did not have. Maybe because of the sheer numbers under His Excellency Akufo-Addo, he was unable to monitor his ministers.
Because the numbers were plenty.
They were simply too many for him.
He brought them, but I mean...
well. It's all part of the game. Maybe because His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has only 60. The briefing he doesn't even have to wait for the official briefing. He can call finance minister. The money to the people, why haven't you released it? Maybe he's able to call foreign affairs minister. Venezuela, something has happened. Why haven't you said anything about it? Or you think we are an island? No, you take action now. Maybe he's able to say to the interior minister, this Boko thing has to stop. Why are we still here? We promised that we will resolve it. Why is it still not resolved? So he's able to hold, firmly onto the administration and direct the affairs of the administration, which is part of it.
So President Mahama, when he was campaigning and before he was sworn in, so 1 year after his swearing in, this is what we're looking at. The topmost priority of the NDC government will be to implement a few other things that they wanted to reduce hardships. As we speak, 1 year on, do you get the sense that the hardships that President Mahama promised to reduce, do you get a sense that it has happened? They wanted to ensure macroeconomic stability. The macroeconomic stability is data driven. We know the numbers. Do the numbers communicate to us that this is something that the president has achieved in his first year? Restore investor confidence based on trends and trajectories. Does it look like it has happened? And then lastly, to prioritize investment in productive sectors for sustainable economic growth. All of these are part of the economy. Does it look like, do you think within you, around you, your experiences, your engagements with people, per your own unofficial research and surveys, do you think that these have been achieved in his first year?
There's a reason I went back to the 120 social contract he had. And I'm trying to limit myself to that and beyond that to the 1 year. Because we know that all of the things that were promised cannot be achieved in 1 year. They have to be spread across the period. But that's why I also made a point that if you look at what we are seeing today, there is hope. In fact, there's the strongest of convictions that indeed by the end of the tenure, at least 90 to 95% of the president's timetable or objectives would have been achieved. Look, I have always said, even under the previous administration, I always said here, on this same seat, that I am not an economist. Me, I don't understand macro, micro, inflation. I don't understand.
They go right over your head.
I don't. It confuse me. What I know is how much is fuel, how much is a tuber of yam, how much is transportation from Atomic down to
Chelsea Lodge.
to Chelsea. that is what I know.
Right.
So if you come and talk to me about the indicators have indicated a shove and a decline, and you are worrying yourself.
And GDP and inflation.
After you are done with all of that, I am asking myself, how much is a liter of petrol?
Is your pocket.
That is what I'm concerned about. How much is a bunch of alefu? Alefi.
What's that?
Oh, you don't know you don't cook.
What is that? I say you don't cook.
The leaves, the one they used to cook soup.
Maybe my people, you don't call it alefi or alefu.
Okay, let me mention one you know. Oh, that one I've forgotten again. Those things. So when it comes to it, that's a question I'm asking. Because if you come and tell me that by the micro indicator, inflation has gone this way, and it means that the GDP has risen and fallen,
all you want is that
are worrying your life.
When you take 150 cedis to the market, what can you buy?
What can I buy? That is my micro and macro economy, and my inflation and my GDP and my everything. That is it. So I'm asking myself. I'm asking myself today, as I sit, how much is a liter of fuel? Am I able to fuel my car, move from my house to my office? Am I able to do that? Compared to a year ago, how difficult or easy was it for me? So in answering your question, yes, the hardship has gone down. It's gone down. COVID-19, that was on the books. The COVID-19 levy, that was on the books. We said, oh, scrap it. Oh, it's been there. COVID-19, remove it. It is the whole world. It is only Ghana that is still charging COVID-19 levy. And then they said, no. If you remove it, the dollar will do something, and the cedi will do something, and then we will do something. It's been removed. Ghana has not collapsed. We are here. Crosby, but yeah, that reminds me. Some people are still charging COVID-19 levy as part of their cost build-up. Some restaurants.
Which people are
Let me bring the receipts before I mention the names.
Okay.
Some restaurants are still charging COVID-19 levy, even though it has been scrapped.
You should not pay for that. You really should not pay for that.
In fact, in one of the restaurants, they told me that if I want, they can go and remove it for me.
Yes. If you give me the bill, and I would go through all the pointers.
No, but that is not the point.
The fact that they are still
it shouldn't even be there in the first place.
It shouldn't happen. But Sixtus, hold your horses for me. Beyond the economy, there are a lot of things too about governance itself, about the running of the country, not necessarily just the economy part, running the country in terms of constitution, in terms of rule of law, in terms of rights and responsibilities, amongst others. Briefly, before I engage with Professor Agyemangua, briefly on that score, in terms of proper governance 1 year on, after 7th January 2025, what would be your overall assessment?
The administration has been able to hold itself, has been able to stand firm, avoided the scandals that as political people we are very used to. We have seen ministers go through the 1 year without a contract scandal, a procurement scandal, what do you call those things? We are hearing that this minister has gone to sign this contract that has backfired, or done this that has we have gone the whole year without it. We've seen discipline so far. We've seen discipline on the part of appointees, not just ministers, the chief executives. We've seen that discipline. We've seen the respect that we keep asking for. That the fact that you are minister or you are a CEO doesn't mean that you can be misbehaving on these streets. But there are complaints about some of them not responding to calls.
That one is different.
It's different.
Beyond discipline, in terms of impact.
How do you define impact? Discipline itself is impact.
No, discipline may not necessarily be the object of the institution.
Oh, it's an object of governance. It
is a part of it.
We cannot have ministers running riots. We cannot have ministers spending anyhow on the streets.
Exactly.
We cannot have ministers misconducting themselves. All of that is discipline.
The discipline part I'm talking about. Now I'm talking about the impact of those agencies, for instance. If there is gold
productivity.
Exactly.
Okay. So now you have used the word. So in terms of productivity, a lot of the agencies, MDAs that have also come up, they have given us what they have done within the period. I think Gold Board is the one in the media space now.
At the moment, yes.
At the moment. Gold Board has given us the the profits that it's made over the period,
They say
the impact,
they say
according
they
to
don't
you,
make profits.
they don't do it.
They are not a profit-making institution.
But yeah,
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, they make profits. They made profits.
No, they don't.
The profit loss conversation that has come up.
So that one is different. So they don't call it profit.
What do they call it?
People call it costs. And then they had...
Please, I'm not an economist.
Let me speak with Professor Bafaj Mendia. Prof, good morning to you and a happy new year.
Happy New Year to you and good morning to the listeners.
Prof, it's been a year since President John Dramani Mahama stood before Ghanaians and then took the presidential oath to become president of the Republic of Ghana. 1 year on, from where you sit in terms of governance, what has been the overall assessment of President John Dramani Mahama's government, bearing in mind performance of his ministers, performance of his appointees, discipline like Sisters was talking about, and then impact in terms of productivity or output from where you sit?
Overall, as you asked me, I think the government has performed very well overall. The government has succeeded in bringing in some stability and a sense of hope to Ghanaians about their country. And that's a major achievement because one of the hallmarks of good leadership is to be able to inspire your people to hope, even in the midst of adversity. So that hope that this government has generated in the public, for me, is good because prior to that, as you know, there was tension and uncertainties, and people were not, generally speaking, happy with what was going on in the country. But so far, a year now, that has subsided. So that, I think, is a major one. This is intangible, but it's an important, intangible achievement, which, for me, indicates a lot about the people's perception of what has happened over the past year. Again, generally speaking, beyond that, the president seems to have made good on some of the promises that he made to the people. For me, as a governance person, the most important one was to initiate the process for reviewing the Constitution to find a way to close gaps that have been discovered over the years. And as you know, within 11 months, the Constitutional Review Committee has concluded its work and submitted at least a summary of their report to the President. That in itself is important because over the years, in fact, for about 25 years now, voices have been raised against a constitution that seems to have, in many ways, have weakened governance. So if you look at the recommendations of the committee, it appears like it attempted in addressing most of these gaps in the constitution. So of course, we are here to see how the process proceeds. The president told the nation on receiving the recommendations of the committee that he was going to pass it on to an implementation committee. At that point, we did not talk about issued white paper. White paper is a mechanism governments use to accept or reject recommendations of that nature. So if the white paper is not going to be issued, then it implies that generally the government or the president is satisfied with the recommendations of the committee, and therefore it will pass on straight to the implementation committee. But we are yet to see the constitution of that committee to see how far it can go. And of course, I'm sure it has to go to the Council of State. So it's a long process. The good news about this latest constitutional review report is that they have found a clever way to deal with the problem of what we call entrenched clauses that may be affected, because that requires a surrender I think if you listen to the committee members, especially the chair, he explained that they recommended a way where perhaps the whole issue of entrenchment can be put to one referendum, and once that is approved, then it makes it easy for them to do that. So overall, I think the government has done quite well, generally speaking.
As we try to evaluate the current governance performance, where do you think the government is underperforming on governance commitments, if any? Where can it improve?
I'm sorry, where can it be improved?
Where can it improve?
Oh, yeah. Well, as you know, governance is a never-ending process. It's just like democracy itself. It never ends. Societies seek to improve as they move on. So in that respect, even after the recommendations of the CRC has been approved and implemented, we're still going to have some challenges, because so far as human beings are concerned, no matter how best you try, there'll be some gaps here and there. But if you ask me where we need to improve, you see, for me, one of the key issues about governance is the human agency that is charged with the responsibility for governance. When I talk of human agency, I talk about the quality of leadership and the leadership's ability to appoint the people, the right people, to help execute the agenda of the government. That is key, because no matter how beautiful a constitution is, if the human agency is weak, the human agency has a bad mindset, it's a problem. In fact, I've said it elsewhere, that one of the things the government of Mahama should try to do, as he is talking about resetting the country, we should also be looking at the mindset of the Ghanaians. So the behavior of us as a people, in many ways, makes it difficult for governments, all governments that we have had, to succeed in the agenda. More so, if the people that are directly appointed to be in charge of governance agencies, if they are not the right people with the right mindset, again, it's going to frustrate us. So in that respect, I don't know the direct answer, but I think one of the things we have to initiate as soon as we can is attempting to change the mindset, which means our education system has to be reviewed. What kinds of values are we giving to our children in the schools? People, when we talk of these things, they forget that what determines human achievement is the value. Look at Singapore. Their success is because they've established certain values, and if you infringe it, they deal with you. Laws, of course you need the laws, but laws implementation even depends on the values. Now that you can't go to Singapore and spit on the street or throw chewing gum on the street, it's a value they have developed. So I guess my answer to your question is very broad, because for me, it's important that we have human beings who understand where we are going, and we have a leadership that's able to guide the movement, the path that we are choosing with kinds of values that all of us, that will help to achieve the goals of governance.
Let's talk about institutions now, Prof. So far, a year into the administration, are they acting independently, or the executive is still influencing, or the executive influence is still dominant?
Well, that's what the Constitution has done, the 92 Constitution, and that's why some of the recommendations of the CRC is to find a way to, for lack of a better word, to strip the presidency of certain powers. We have created what we have called over the years an imperial presidency, meaning that anyone elected president of the country is almost like a king with mostly unlimited powers. So that if you take appointments of people, for instance, any president who is elected is faced with appointing about 6,000 to 7,000 individuals, right from the top to the bottom. So we don't have, in my humble view, we don't have true democracy. What we have is elite democracy, the bottom of our societies. At the district level, town levels, we don't see any activity at all besides elections. And therefore, the initiative that we used to have in the past, the voluntarism that used to be part of the Ghanaian values, all those have died because the central government is so powerful. Everybody looks up to the central government for almost everything that we need, including toilets in our villages. You see. So one of the key things is we're talking about the president's power. The recent case of the removal of the Chief Justice, for instance, for me, the Constitution clearly demonstrates that unless we make some amendments in that, the executive will always have influence over the judicial system. And we have started many examples, the Kenyan people and others, where the judicial council of that country recruits and recommends the president to approve. I think in the proposal of the CRC, they are making a similar, not the same, but a similar kind of proposal where perhaps the Council of State can be empowered with the authority to recruit and recommend to the president. If we do that, then of course we are able then to control the president direct interference in the judiciary. So that's an important point. For the legislature, we have had very strong speakers who have, beginning with Peter Alajete, who insisted that the legislature should be independent, even to the extent of asking for financial independence. So I think by and large the legislature is okay. Now, other institutions, the president appoints the CEOs of all state institutions. At times, they even appoint from the CEO to the deputies, at times even to the foreign relations officer. That's how intrusive our executive is, the affairs of the nation. So if the president is the one who has appointed the CEO, the two deputies, who has the use of the board? And they are given boards. And the president can decide to fire the CEO tomorrow without even the knowledge of the board. So there are some serious contradictions in how we have set up this institution, the kind of powers we are giving to the presidency. So I think the whole idea to delimit the powers of the president, to strengthen democracy at the grassroots,
right.
Because again, the CRC has suggested a devolution committee that can take a closer look at how we bring democracy to the grassroots. So all these are things that have been proposed, and I think if we succeed in getting them implemented, we will have made much improvement in the governance of our country.
And Prof, lastly on this subject, before we delve into other matters, if you were advising the president directly at the moment, 1 year into his administration, what governance reforms would you prioritize immediately?
Oh my goodness! I think, fortunately, the CRC has touched on the council reforms that will help our country. So if I were to advise the president, first, after congratulating him for setting up the CRC, the advice would be, Mr. President, don't put brakes on this process. Let it go on. Let it go on so we can have better governance, and that can become part of his legacy. You see. So your question, I just want the president to proceed with what he's done. The other thing I can advise the president is that, look, you have one term this time, and for the next 3 years, he has to make his name. And as you know, when a government fails, if the president will point fingers at not ministers or deputy ministers or council of state or whatever, is the president. Therefore, he's got to be firm with his appointees. So far, as I heard the previous speaker saying, there have been no scandals, but the president has made it clear. If you bring any scandal, you deal with it yourself. In other words, if you scandalize this government, you are gone. He should be firm. Any sign of insubordination or any sign of somebody appointee undermining his agenda should be taken seriously, including firing people. So for me, if he does that, because so far he's trying to reposition the country economically, politically, and more. So his eyes must be on the prize. The prize is what? A legacy that can be recalled as a turning point in Ghana's political history. And that would be my advice.
And Prof, since you've entered into that arena already, Constitution Day in Ghana, let's talk about the relevance, reflection, and then what the future looks like, the good, bad, and the way forward. 33 years after 33 years of constitutional rule, what is it looking like at the moment?
First, the Constitutional Day. It's not a bad idea. But for me, what is a bit disturbing is governments introduce holidays without educating the people adequately on the significance of that day. We just declare it a holiday and we all sit home and do our private things. Nobody talks about the significance of that day. So, if you have a constitutional day, I will fault whoever introduced it without the added education that should have brought the people to understand. Maybe this should be the day when even schools should be meeting to discuss Ghana's constitution. This should be the day when big lectures are given by knowledgeable individuals at different places in the country. That should be the day where we reflect on the constitution as we have already through the CRC. That would have been more significant. In terms of what we achieved, of course, everybody will say, oh, this constitution has been good because it has stabilized our country, our democracy. It's true. What we have achieved so far is what I will call electoral democracy. We have achieved that because we're able to use elections to change governments without, even though people, the violence here and there. Ultimately, we change government through the ballot box. That's the achievement. But in terms of the other achievement that should come with that kind of stuff, is economic development. That has been a tricky issue for us all these years. And of course, I will also say that even with that electoral democracy, if you look at the violence and the tension that it brings, it has the risk of even a major problem. But so far we have succeeded with that. But I think where we have to turn our attention after changing the political system through the reviews that are underway, we should be serious about how we develop the country. I know, and I was very pleased when the president announced maybe yesterday or so that he's going to discard this culture of abandoning projects that successive governments introduced, which is a very good point. If we had been consistent with our development processes, I'm sure Ghana would have been far advanced economically speaking. But this culture of Kamen, whatever it did was bad, even if it was good, I'm not going to continue with it. That we need to stop. And I don't know, the extreme politics that we have, the extremism, I should say, I hope we can deal with it. So if the president is letting us know that he doesn't like that culture and is going to change it, then it should be clear to people that the resetting that he talks about is also in that direction. And we should, I don't know whether law can make it work because the Constitution requires all governments to continue the projects of previous governments. But nobody respects that. You have the NDPC that is supposed to plan nationally for all of us to have a long-term vision. But new governments come, they discard it. You see. So until we find a way, a common platform for development with a vision for the next 20, 30 years, and that's how long it's taking countries like Singapore, Malaysia, even Rwanda 20 years, there must be consistency in what we want to do. You see. But we are not having that. So again, it is a way for the current president to and led the country on that and reach a kind of a compromise. I don't know if it's possible, but if through the constitutional reviews you can have a way to say that, look, for the next 20 years, this is the plan we have, this is the vision we have as a nation. And every elected government is bound by that. Of course, there'll be little tweaking here and there, but the essence of the plan and the execution cannot be buried. You see, we can do that. We can move faster. We can move faster because we are going a zigzag fashion. I mean, when you think of it, it's crazy.
Right.
And yet we sit down and say, look at Singapore, we look at Malaysia, we were even better than them. Look at what they did to achieve that. They never had this polarity in their politics, this kind of extreme partisanship in their politics. And one person stayed for that period for that to happen. But of course, even the proposal to move from 4 years to 5 year term is under. People are protesting.
Yeah.
But it don't take 4 years, 8 years to build a country. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
Prof, thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Professor Bafo Ajimendua is a former senior UN governance advisor speaking with us there.